I honestly didn't expect this, but the Lakers have now filled their final two-way contract spot with former first-round pick Nick Smith Jr. Smith was drafted by the Charlotte Hornets in 2023 as the 27th overall pick. But after being waived, the Lakers picked him up. It's pretty crazy that the Hornets cut him, especially since they've been stuck in a never-ending rebuild with no plan at all. Keeping a 21-year-old with real untapped upside could have been smart, but instead they tossed him aside and basically handed the Lakers a shot at a young guard for their future. So the question now is, what exactly are the Lakers getting with Nick Smith Jr.? And more importantly, could he actually carve out a spot in the rotation? Could he impress JJ Redick during training camp? Or is this just another short-term gamble that might not even last into the long-term future of the team? We're going to dive into that and break it all down here. First off, the Lakers had to waive someone to make room. No, not from the 15-man roster, but from the training camp group. They ended up cutting center Kyler Kelly, a player some Laker fans thought had a shot at that last two-way deal. He played with their South Bay Lakers last season and will probably end up back in the G League again this year. But he's no longer on the camp roster, meaning he's out of the picture for that two-way slot, which now officially belongs to Nick Smith Jr. And in case you don't know, Smith was a former first-rounder, the 27th pick in the 2023 draft, and still just 21 years old with 2 seasons of NBA experience. Both came with the Charlotte Hornets, where he played 60 games last year, starting 27 and 51 as a rookie, giving him 111 NBA games already under his belt. And his overall numbers on offense are actually decent, but defense is a whole other problem, and we'll get to that later. On the offensive side, he averaged 8 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists per game, while shooting just 39% from the field, which is not great. Still, he's been a 37% career three-point shooter, so there's value there. The issue is last season his shooting dropped hard compared to his rookie year, when he hit 43.2% from deep. That fell to 34%, and his efficiency from the field didn't improve either. His numbers overall stayed flat. Sure, his scoring went up a bit, but not really once you adjust it per 36 minutes. He shot exactly 39.1% from the field in both seasons. His three-point shooting regressed, his scoring bump was minimal, and per 36 minutes, the changes were basically meaningless. In fact, it almost looks like he's stuck at the same level since year one. He went from 9 points per 36 in his rookie year to 15.5 in his second year. With worse efficiency, that's hardly real progress. So again, there's not much development to highlight here, which honestly fits the pattern with the Charlotte Hornets, outside of LaMelo Ball, who was already damn good before they even drafted him. Their track record for developing young players is basically non-existent. Nick Smith just adds to that sad list, which is more bad luck for him than anything. And when you throw in the defense, things look even worse. Stat-wise, he's been awful on that end. Looking at defensive BPM, for example, he's sitting at a negative -2.7 overall so far. He was -2.8 in his rookie year, then barely better at -2.6 last season, which still makes him a defensive liability on the floor. By defensive EPM, which is similar to BPM but factors in more metrics, he ranked as a bottom 7 defender last season, only ahead of names like Jonas Valanciunas, Obi Toppin, Tristan Vukcevic, Keontae George, and even former Lakers legend Alex Len. So yeah, he's clearly not a good defender. And the bigger problem is that he doesn't have a very high defensive ceiling either. Compare him to someone like Dalton Knecht, who was also bad on defense last season, but at least has the size and frame to improve. Nick Smith doesn't. He's just 6 feet 2 inches, 185 pounds, with a short wingspan, which already limits him. He can only really guard smaller players, mainly point guards, and in today's NBA, where shooting guards and small forwards are huge, he just can't handle wings and often becomes a liability. On top of that, he gets picked on regularly. In a switch-heavy defensive scheme, he's almost guaranteed to get exposed. And if he ever has to guard a big wing, it's almost always a bad matchup, which makes him a weak defensive option overall. Still, there is some offensive upside to work with. He hasn't developed much yet, but the ceiling could be similar to a Lou Williams type of player. maybe even a sixth man of the year kind of scorer, if things break right. On the other hand, his floor feels closer to a Bones Hyland, which is basically where he's at right now. An undersized bench guard who can give you instant offense, but comes with clear defensive limits. You'd have to carefully hide him by surrounding him with strong defenders and making sure he never takes the toughest matchup. That's the only way he won't kill your defense while still giving your team some scoring punch. And when it comes to what position he actually fits best, in terms of position and where you'll see him on the court, I'd call him more of a shooting guard than a point guard at this stage. Last season, he logged just 17% of his minutes at point guard, 73% at shooting guard, and even 11% at small forward, which honestly is laughable. As a rookie, he spent 39% of his time at point guard. But that role has basically vanished. The team clearly pulled him away from being on the ball, limiting his playmaking, and shifted him into more of an off-ball scorer. And honestly, I'd keep that approach. I don't see much real playmaking upside in Nick Smith. He isn't a terrible passer, but he's clearly looking for his own shot first. That's what he does best, not creating for others. He's not great at setting up teammates and doesn't project as a true point guard in the future. Up to now, he's simply been a better fit off the ball than on. Trying to force him into becoming a true point guard doesn't really seem realistic. And honestly, that's not the worst thing. If he can lock in as a reliable off-ball shooter, the type of guy who catches the ball and instantly makes a scoring decision for himself instead of constantly worrying about setting up teammates, that's where his real upside lies. As a shooter, he's nearly 37% from three for his career and an impressive 43% from the corner so far, which is elite territory. If he can keep that up and build more consistency, then the Lakers might actually have a quality player in Nick Smith. But again, his role feels pretty clear. An off-the-bench scorer who can heat up quickly and provide microwave offense. Think of him as a Lou Williams or Bones Hyland type. That's the realistic outlook for him right now, and honestly, that's not a bad lane to stay in. I'm not in love with this pickup for a two-way contract, but I don't totally hate it either. Anytime you get a former first-round pick who's still only 21 and has some untapped upside, it's hard to be completely against it. But overall, I'd prefer a player with more of a two-way skill set. And sure, odds are he won't crack the rotation. That's usually the case with two-way guys. Still, the Lakers have had exceptions. Take Jordan Goodwin last year. He stepped in right away because his defense and shooting actually filled a need. That's the type of player they don't really have here. Coco is more of a defensive center, but brings almost nothing offensively and has no outside shot yet. And Chris Mannon? Same story. Defense first, not much else, but not a reliable three-point shooter or offensive player in general. So now adding Nick Smith, who is kind of the opposite to them, an offensive-minded player, but not very good defensively. In fact, a borderline liability on defense. Not exactly what I had in mind here for it. I at least would have given a chance to a guy like Eric Dixon, Arthur Kuma, so on and so forth, the guys in their training camp roster, rather than immediately filling that two-way contract. For me personally, I like competition. And if you take away the competition and the main goal for that competition, again, the final vacant two-way contract that's now been filled, I feel like it kind of gives away from that competition and really takes away from it, too. I mean, hopefully they still compete and try to make a good impression on the Lakers. Don't sign a deal with a different team since there's not much of an opportunity for them here. But I'd really like to see Eric Dixon eventually crack the two-way contract. I mean, not to say you can't get to it. Two-way contracts are fully non-guaranteed. But I'm not convinced Nick Smith actually deserved one over players already in the Lakers system. Sure, he's got NBA experience and the former first-round pick label. But that doesn't automatically make him the better choice. It doesn't mean he's more deserving of this shot. And let's be real, he's not guaranteed to keep it. Neither he, Christian, nor Chris Manning are locked in. The team could cut any of them tomorrow and sign someone else. That's just how two-way deals work. Still, when you hand one out, you usually give the player at least a month or two, maybe 3, to prove themselves. I don't see the Lakers cutting him by the end of camp. More likely, they'll give him a legitimate chance through camp and into the early regular season to show if he's worth keeping around. And maybe he offers the Lakers something long-term. But those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you think about this move. Do you like the signing of Nick Smith Jr.? Or do you think it's a waste? How do you feel about the Lakers now having all their two-way spots filled and their roster basically locked, knowing they can't touch that 15 spot until later in the season? Do you think this was the right call or not? Let me know your opinions in the comments below. That'll wrap it up for this one. If you enjoyed the video, I'd really appreciate a like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next upload. Thanks for watching as always, and have a great day or night.